How's it going out there? This is Feature Mind, and so in today's video we're going to discuss interesting observations about wind and air. Now, air is part of wind, and air is one of the most important things to life next to water. Now, I did a previous video called Is Water What We Were Told, where we discussed possibilities of water even perhaps being some form of life. Now, with wind, it's interesting because God breathed the breath of life into Adam for him to be a living being. There's even a procedure called CPR where a person can breathe life into the patient, and that can sometimes help the patient regain consciousness. Also, there's a moment in the Bible in Mark 4 verse 39 where Jesus commanded the wind to be still, and it says, and he arose and rebuked the wind. It said unto the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. So we see that wind was able to respond to the orders and commands of Jesus, the Messiah. So there's a lot of interesting things about wind. And so what really is wind? There's even information about the fallen one being called the Prince of the Air. And so in this video, we're going to discuss wind and how wind is not what we were told. Now, the scientific explanation of wind is simply that the hot air and the cool air is interacting with each other and moving against each other, with the cool air sinking and the warm air rising and things like that. But in this video, we're going to brainstorm a bit about some other explanations of wind and other information, and we're also going to brainstorm a bit about wind. So let's get started. And so I have some pretty interesting observations about wind. And this all started when I was on my street, and I have several trees on my street, and I noticed how the wind was behaving. It was going from tree to tree, and I would see the leaves dance in the wind. And then I would see that for a while in one tree. Then the wind would jump to another tree and do the same thing. And then the tree that I was at previously would be still. So I started looking around at the other trees, and the rest were still as well. Then the wind would move to another tree, and the same thing would happen. And behind my house, I have a forest, and I would watch those trees, and I would see how the wind would choose different trees to interact with. Some trees would be moving, others would not, and they're all together. So I was observing the winds, and then I decided to stand out in the middle of the street. It's a turnaround street, so there's no traffic really on my street. So I stood there as I was observing the winds, and I would notice how the wind was almost interacting with me. It would be still for a second with no wind at all. Then I would just wait a while, and then the wind would come and approach me, and I would feel the wind breeze through me, and then it would move around and it would be still again. So that's what had me questioning what really is wind. It was almost behaving as if it was some type of intelligence or something. I would also like to bring up about the Null School map, where the Null School map was removed. It was an AE map, the flat circle map, and you could see the wind patterns on it, and it would be a nice structured circle of wind. You could see the jet stream move around the circle of the earth. And then you could switch to the globe version. And on the globe version, it was a mess. It was chaotic. It was not organized. The wind was all over the place on the globe map if you follow the jet stream. And then you switch back to the AE map, and you'll see the perfect formation of the wind as it moves in circles and different speeds around the inner circle to the outer circle of the earth. And so it's pretty strange that they would remove the AE map version, I guess because it was waking up too many people, and people were starting to realize, hey, the AE map with the wind makes much more sense. When you look at that jet stream on the AE map, it brings much more credibility to the AE map and can even explain the issues with airplane speeds from Australia to South America, where they're trying to say, well, a plane would take much longer because of the distances. But with the jet streams, you can see the different speeds of the jet streams. So on the outer circles of the earth, the jet streams move faster. And I've even looked into some data where it seems that the plane rides would take much longer when it's going the opposite direction against the jet stream. So the jet streams could be a big factor in figuring out what's going on with that situation. And so I came across some information from the book of Enoch. This book of Enoch is called the Book of the Watchers. So in this book of the Watchers, it actually covers in detail some pretty interesting things about wind. But as far as the book of Enoch, I mean, in that book, we discover how there's 12 gates of the firmament. And so the book of Enoch goes on to explain that the wind circles around like the sun. And then the book of Enoch goes on to explain how these 12 windows open up, and there's different types of winds that comes out of these windows of heaven. And they're saying that there's 3 groups of windows on each side. So it's divided into 4 sections in groups of 3. Around the firmament. These 12 windows of heaven are circled around the earth, and they act as ventilation systems with winds that come out of them. And it almost suggests that this could have something to do with the rotations of the sun and the moon and possibly the stars.
I saw the winds of heaven, which turn and bring the circumference of the sun and all the stars to their setting. I saw the winds on the earth, carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the heaven above.
And then, so the information goes on to explain to us how there's pleasant winds that come out of some of these windows, and then there's punishment winds that come out of some of these windows. So there's great detail that this book of Enoch goes into, and it tells us how there's cold winds and hot winds. So the sun might not be the only source of heat on this earth. It could have something to do with the cold and the hot winds, or it could help regulate the temperatures of the earth. And the book of Enoch also goes on to tell us how the rain can come out of these gates. So the rain clouds and fog is actually clouds as well. And this also has something to do with dew, because the book also tells us how the dew is kind of associated with some of this stuff, and that can help affect dew and fog and rain. They even say with the hotter winds, they say that can influence droughts and heat and the scorching heat as well. And then cold and chill and blizzards and, like I said, mist and frost. All of that is associated with these winds that are coming out of these portals of heaven. So the jet stream might not be what we were told, especially according to my observations and this book. And like I said, with the AE map, when you look at the jet streams, you can see all the evidence that there's something going on with wind that we haven't been told. And could this also explain hurricanes and tornadoes as well? It's very possible, because it does say that there's punishment winds. So we know that there's a hurricane season, and the winds from the portals could have something to do with that.
And here I saw 3 portals of heaven open in the heaven. Through each of them proceed north winds. When they blow, there is cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. And out of one portal they blow for good. But when they blow through the other 2 portals, it is with violence and affliction on the earth. And they blow with violence. Chapter 35. And from thence I went towards the west to the ends of the earth, and I saw there 3 portals of the heaven, open such as I had seen in the east, the same number of portals, and the same number of outlets. The journey to the south. Chapter 36. And from thence I went to the south to the ends of the earth, and I saw there 3 open portals of the heaven, and thence there come dew, rain, and wind.
So we discussed how these winds could possibly be carrying the clouds and possibly the stars. And it's interesting how there are sections in the book of Enoch that also talks about the winds being the foundations of the earth. And so we remember the mainstream Bible says the earth hangs upon nothing. So that's interesting. You can kind of see wind as nothing almost because it's invisible. So I don't know if there's any connection there where it's saying it's possible that the foundations of the earth is sitting upon the winds.
I saw the treasuries of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation and the firm foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the 4 winds which bear the earth and the firmament of the heaven. And I saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of heaven and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of the heaven.
What do you guys think about all this information? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. And so check out my playlist, Weather and Seasons Are Not What You Were Told. For much more information, I'll leave the link in the comment section and description box. Visit FeedYourMind1.com for bonus videos, news, exclusives, links to my other channels, social media links, and much more. Please consider donating as little as $1 to help finance another documentary-style video like this. You can sign up on the YouTube membership, Patreon, or directly. All links are in the comment section and description box. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click your notification bell. This has been another episode of Feed Your Mind. Thank you for tuning in. Signing off.